Hello everyone, and thank you for joining me for my project presentation. Today, I'll be discussing the impact of skill-based matchmaking on casual gamers, as well as the sources I plan on using to support my essay. Skill-based matchmaking, or SBMM, is a system used in many multiplayer games to match players based on their skill levels. While it ensures balanced competition, it often creates an issue for casual players. As they improve, the system pushes them into more difficult matchups, which can be frustrating and reduce their enjoyment of the game. My thesis is that while skill-based matchmaking promotes fairness, it ultimately reduces enjoyment for casual gamers. These players, who may not play consistently, are placed in matches with highly skilled opponents, leading to frustration. This dynamic often results in casual players quitting the game. Skill-based matchmaking, though designed to create fairness, has unintended consequences for these players. Through this presentation, I'll present 9 sources that illustrate how skill-based matchmaking negatively impacts casual gamers and supports my thesis. In A Tale of Two Games, Football and FIFA 12, Miguel Sicart compares the real-world sport of football to its simulation in FIFA 12. He explains how the game simplifies important aspects of football, such as tactical unpredictability and human judgment, in order to make it playable as a video game. While this makes FIFA 12 more accessible and easier to control, it also removes some of the complexity and excitement that makes real football enjoyable. Sicart's analysis highlights a common issue in game design. When trying to simulate real-world experiences, the depth and unpredictability of those activities are often lost. This reduction of complexity, while intended to streamline gameplay, can make the gaming experience feel less authentic and dynamic. So how does A Tale of Two Games support my thesis? Sicart's analysis mirrors the impact that skill-based matchmaking has on casual gaming. Just as FIFA oversimplifies football by making it too controlled and predictable, skill-based matchmaking does the same by forcing casual players into overly competitive and structured matches. The spontaneity, creativity, and fun that casual players typically seek in a game are diminished because they are pushed into situations where every match feels like high-stakes competition. This directly supports my thesis that skill-based matchmaking reduces enjoyment for casual gamers, turning what should be a relaxed experience into one that is more stressful and rigid, ultimately driving them away. In the chapter Difficulty from Debugging Game History, Bobby Schweitzer explores how game designers use difficulty settings to strike a balance between challenge and accessibility for players of all skill levels. He emphasizes that games with difficulty settings that are too high can alienate casual players, especially when those settings aren't properly calibrated to account for a wide range of abilities. Schweitzer points out that if the challenge becomes too intense too quickly, less experienced players are more likely to become frustrated and may quit the game altogether. His analysis shows how a poorly adjusted difficulty curve can result in a negative gaming experience, particularly for those who play more casually or for enjoyment rather than competition. This supports my thesis because skill-based matchmaking functions much like a rigid difficulty curve. As players improve, the system escalates the challenge by automatically placing them into more competitive matches, often without considering whether they are seeking that level of intensity. Casual gamers, who typically play for fun and relaxation, find themselves frustrated by these increasingly difficult matchups. Just like overly challenging difficulty settings in traditional game design, skill-based matchmaking removes the flexibility that casual players need to enjoy the game at their own pace. This source supports my thesis by demonstrating that when a system becomes too rigid and lacks adaptability, it diminishes the gaming experience, eventually driving casual players away from the game. In the chapter Game Balance by David Sirlin from Debugging Game History, Sirlin explores the delicate art of balancing games to ensure fairness across a broad spectrum of player skill levels. He delves into the challenges that game developers face when trying to make games enjoyable for both casual and competitive players. Serland also highlights the risk of overbalancing, where systems designed to promote fairness and equality, such as difficulty settings or matchmaking algorithms, can make games feel too structured, predictable, and ultimately less enjoyable. Overbalancing, while intended to ensure fairness, can remove the sense of spontaneity and fun that many players, especially casual gamers, value in their gaming experiences. The concept of game balance mirrors the objectives of skill-based matchmaking. Both aim to create fairness by matching players of similar skill levels, ensuring that no player has an unfair advantage. However, just as David Serlin discusses the dangers of overbalancing in game design, skill-based matchmaking can remove the spontaneity and sense of freedom that casual players enjoy. By making gameplay too rigid and structured, it often leads to frustration for those who simply want to relax and enjoy the game without being pushed into increasingly competitive environments. This chapter supports my thesis by showing that while systems like skill-based matchmaking are designed to promote fairness, they can have the unintended consequence of alienating casual gamers, making the game feel overly controlled and less enjoyable. In Don't Starve, Temporality by Christopher Hansen. From How to Play Video Games, Hansen explores how time and progression shape the player experience in Don't Starve. He examines how players must navigate the game's unique temporality, balancing between immediate short-term goals, such as gathering resources, and the long-term objective of survival. This focus on how players interact with time and progression systems is key to understanding how different game mechanics, like difficulty scaling or survival elements, affect player engagement. Hansen's analysis of Don't Starve highlights the impact of these design choices on a player's sense of control and strategy within the game. Though primarily focused on time management, this chapter offers valuable insights into how progression systems, including skill-based matchmaking, can gradually frustrate players over time. Just as players in Don't Starve struggle to balance short-term needs with long-term survival, casual players in skill-based matchmaking systems face the challenge of increasingly difficult matches as they improve. Over time, this escalation makes it harder for casual gamers to enjoy the game at their own pace, resulting in disengagement and a reduction in overall enjoyment. This parallel supports my thesis by demonstrating how a system designed to scale difficulty can end up alienating players who aren't looking for that kind of intense competition. This chapter, taken from How to Play Video Games, examines the competitive environment of Counter-Strike, a game renowned for its high skill ceiling. The chapter emphasizes the significant level of skill and dedication required to succeed in this game, often creating a divide between casual and professional players. It explores the tension that arises when these two groups interact in competitive environments, where casual players may feel overwhelmed or out of place among more experienced, highly skilled competitors. This dynamic mirrors the broader challenges of balancing casual and competitive play within many multiplayer games. The competitive nature of Counter-Strike supports my thesis by illustrating how skill-based matchmaking forces casual players into increasingly competitive environments as they improve. Just as in Counter-Strike, where casual players often feel out of place among more skilled competitors, skill-based matchmaking escalates the level of competition for players who may not want such intense matchups. This shift takes the focus away from casual enjoyment and places it on high-stakes competition, leading to frustration. This mirrors the experiences of many casual gamers who find that as they improve, their gaming experience becomes overly competitive and stressful, ultimately reducing their enjoyment. Sonia Fizek discusses how automation in games, including matchmaking algorithms, aims to streamline and optimize the gaming experience by removing some of the unpredictability that manual systems might have. However, while this automation is designed for efficiency, it often comes at the cost of reducing player control. Automated systems, such as those seen in skill-based matchmaking, can make games feel rigid and formulaic, limiting the dynamic and player-driven experiences that many gamers enjoy. Fizek explores how these systems, despite their benefits, detract from the spontaneity and creativity that players expect from interactive environments. For casual gamers, the sense of control over their experience is diminished as they are automatically placed into matches that might not align with their preferences or desired level of competition. This loss of autonomy contributes to a more constrained, less enjoyable gaming experience. Skill-based matchmaking's automated nature removes much of the player's control over their gaming experience, which can lead to significant frustration for casual gamers who prefer a more organic and flexible style of play. As the system automatically adjusts the difficulty based on performance, casual players are often pushed into increasingly competitive environments without any choice in the matter. This lack of control diminishes their ability to play the game at their own pace or skill level. Fizek's work supports my thesis by illustrating how automation in systems like skill-based matchmaking creates rigid, formulaic structures that leave little room for the spontaneity and freedom that many casual gamers enjoy. Ultimately, this rigidity leads to reduced player enjoyment, as the dynamic nature of gameplay is replaced by an inflexible and overly competitive experience. This video presents a compilation of reactions from Fortnite players, many of whom express frustration with skill-based matchmaking. These players explain how the system increases the game's competitiveness and forces them into high-pressure situations that make the gameplay experience more stressful. As casual gamers progress, they are matched against increasingly skilled opponents, which adds intensity to each match and takes away from the fun, casual nature of the game. Many players in the video assert that this shift toward higher competition ultimately diminishes their enjoyment, as they feel the game has become more about survival in difficult matches rather than having a relaxed, enjoyable experience with friends. This video provides real-world examples of how skill-based matchmaking turns every match into a high-stakes competition. The player testimonials show how this system, meant to create fair matchups, leads to a stressful and intense environment. For casual players seeking a laid-back experience, this shift reduces their enjoyment. These testimonials support my thesis by showing how skill-based matchmaking makes gaming less fun for those looking for a more casual experience. Call of Duty: Modern Warfare uses skill-based matchmaking in both multiplayer and ranked modes to match players based on performance metrics such as kill-death ratio and accuracy. As players improve, they face stronger opponents, creating fair matches, but often resulting in higher difficulty for casual players. Casual players in Call of Duty often express frustration as skill-based matchmaking forces them into harder matches as they improve. This constant pressure reduces enjoyment for players not seeking highly competitive games, supporting my thesis that skill-based matchmaking makes gaming too stressful and less fun for casual gamers. Fortnite's skill-based matchmaking pairs players based on skill levels in its Battle Royale mode. While it aims for fairness, it often results in casual players facing tougher opponents as they improve, making the game more stressful and less enjoyable for those seeking a relaxed experience. Like Call of Duty, Fortnite's skill-based matchmaking turns a fun experience into a high-stakes challenge as players progress. This supports my thesis by showing how skill-based matchmaking frustrates casual gamers, leading to disengagement as the game becomes too difficult and stressful. In conclusion, While skill-based matchmaking is intended to promote fairness by matching players of similar skill, it often frustrates casual gamers. As they improve, they are placed in harder, more competitive matches, which makes the experience more stressful and less enjoyable. The rigidity of skill-based matchmaking takes away the fun and freedom that casual players seek, ultimately leading to disengagement. To keep casual players engaged, more flexible systems that balance competition and enjoyment are needed. Thank you, and thank you for your time.